What's going on YouTube? This is SG1 Sports and you're watching our college football channel as we wrap up our 2024 schedule preview and projected record series. Cincinnati, the last Power 4 team, as we've gone through every single team. And if you're wondering about the group of 5 teams, I'm not going to be doing any of those. We're just sticking to the power teams, which is pretty much what I've always done on this channel. And we're finishing this really way later than I wanted to. I think next year, if I do this series, we're gonna start it really quick after the season ends and do two teams a day maybe, and so we can get this done before we get to almost the month of May. But that's next year. Let's focus on this year's series, and we'll look back to the 2023 schedule for Cincinnati, and you see a 3-9 record. Wins on the road at Pittsburgh and Houston, those are decent wins, but then they lose to Miami of Ohio, lost at home to Baylor. It was not a good season, a little bit inconsistent. And now we'll look to 2024 where they get a really favorable schedule. You'll see what I'm talking about here. Let's get to the non-conference. So they play Towson, and then so Pitt is figures to be one of the worst Power 4 teams, and I keep wanting to say Power 5, Power 4 teams. And so they get them, and then Miami of Ohio. I know they beat them last year, but still it's a MAC team. You would like Cincinnati's, you like their chances to maybe be able to win that game. And then you look at the schedule in the Big 12 first at home. They've got Houston, Arizona State, West Virginia, and TCU. So you get Houston and Arizona State, two of the teams towards the bottom. And TCU wasn't very good last year, although they might be better this year. You look at the road schedule. It's at Texas Tech, at UCF, at Colorado, at Iowa State, at Kansas. So they don't play Utah. They don't play Arizona. They don't play Oklahoma State. They don't play Kansas. So this is a really, really favorable schedule for Cincinnati. And so they're going to start with Towson on August 31st. And they'll play Pitt the next week, September 7th. Then it's on the road at Miami of Ohio on the 14th. Houston at home on September 21st. And then on the road at Texas Tech on September 28th. Then they get their first bye week before going on the road to play UCF. Back home for Arizona State on October 19th, then on the road to play Colorado on October 26th. Then they get their other bye week before the final stretch. They'll get West Virginia on November 9th, Iowa State on the road on the 16th, Kansas State on the road on the 23rd. So back-to-back road games there with no bye week like they had earlier. And then they close things out with TCU on November 30th. So again, this is a schedule that sets up pretty well for Cincinnati with no Arizona, no Utah, no Kansas, and no Oklahoma State. Yeah, they do still have to play Kansas State. They do still have to play West Virginia. But, I mean, you're going to have to play some of the better teams. There's no way you're going to get out of all of them. But if we're just talking about maybe the top 6 teams, they only play 2 of those and arguably don't play the top 3. I mean, this is a really favorable schedule for Cincinnati. What's that going to lead to? I don't know. Let's see what the projection says. Last year's projection had them at 7-5. I picked them to go 2-10. I thought it had them at 5-7. Vegas had them around 5.5 wins. They went 3-9. And this is what I was talking about in the video, I think, yesterday. These projections are not necessarily going to reflect what my predictions look like. This is done right at the end of the season, the previous season. We put the teams in tiers. We plug in the formula, and we roll with that. And then I do a lot of research in the spring as we get ready to make official predictions. And, I'm going to make predictions that are going to be a lot different than these projections. And I think that, you see that here with Cincinnati. Maybe no bigger gap in the projection and prediction than with this team. So let's see what the projection says for 2024. So I actually had Cincinnati in the bottom tier of the Big 12, a tier kind of by themselves when I just looked at these teams back in January and really felt like this was clearly the worst team in the Big 12. But their projection's not going to look that bad because of the way the schedule is. And again, this is the scale that we use. They have Towson, so you've got the one easy win, and then you've got some games where they'll be about a touchdown underdog. Texas Tech, UCF, Colorado, West Virginia, and Iowa State. These teams are all in at least, Texas Tech, UCF, Colorado, Iowa State, all in one tier above Cincinnati, plus the games are on the road. West Virginia is actually a little bit higher than that. They're 2 tiers above Cincinnati, but they get that game at home. That's why it's in the yellow. And then we've got Kansas State in the orange. If they had to play at West Virginia, at Utah, at Kansas, at Arizona, at Oklahoma State, any of those opponents on the road would be in the orange. but they just don't play them. So the schedule sets up, like I said, really well for Cincinnati. And the odds would say that they're going to split the 50-50 games. They're going to win 1 or 2 of these games in the yellow, and I actually have them getting to 6-6. So that's a pretty high projection, and it means that every single Big 12 team is projected to get to at least 6-6. And I believe the highest record was 8-4. So the whole conference expected to be right there between 6-6 and 8-4, which is what we got in the ACC as well. So these two conferences, there's a lot of parity. There are no elite teams, and there are no awful teams really either. So that's why you see these projections where they are. Now, I think their number was like 5.5, so they were really close to being just 5-7 in the projection. And, you know, just one little change here could have put them there. But, again, with our formula, they are projected to go 6-6, which I think tells a lot about the schedule and how it really favors Cincinnati. Can they actually get to a bowl game? Well, we'll see. You can give me your thoughts on Cincinnati down in the comments below, and we will also be recapping each conference. So we'll go through and I'll show you what the standings look like based off of these projections, and we'll show the exact win totals, like the percentages, and we'll rank every power team. So those videos will be coming up very soon. But we wrap up our individual team videos here with Cincinnati. We'll also be looking at the schedules, who had the toughest schedules, the easiest schedules, all of that, as we get ready to start doing some predictions here in about a month. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports College Football Channel.